Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
Knock knock! The magical door to the world of K-animation is swinging wide open. Meet your instant new BFF, the adorable Catch. Tina Ping will have you hooked from the very first glance. Need a hand? Our Robocar Poli Rescue team is always zooming in to save the day. How about tagging along on Pinkfong and Pal's super exciting quest to reclaim their lost magic? With the mysterious life forms Cabion by your side, you can become a Cabion master and save humanity like the total hero. Protecting children's innocence while igniting their boundless imaginations. That's the magic of Korean animation. K-animation, the ultimate bestie for kids worldwide.
South Korea has signed a major arms deal with Peru to export 195 K2 tanks. This is set to become Korea's largest ever defense export deal with Latin America. And South Korea added over 200,000 jobs last month compared to the same month the previous year, mainly driven by the health and social welfare services sector. But key industries such as manufacturing and construction sectors continue to show weakness. U.S. President Donald Trump graded his administration high marks on the economy, ahead of the Fed's decision on key interest rates, and as he prepares for a trip to Pennsylvania to highlight his efforts to bring down inflation. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with South Korea's defense exports, which are now expanding into Latin America. Korea has sealed a landmark agreement with Peru to sell 195 K2 tanks, a deal that Seoul expects will become its largest ever defense export to the region, marking a milestone for the K2 tanks' global reach. Our Pyeongyang starts us off.
South Korea is poised to make a significant breakthrough in the Latin American defense market after Peru agreed to procure nearly 200 units of Korean-made ground vehicles. According to the presidential office, the Peruvian army will receive 54 K2 main battle tanks and 141 wheeled armored vehicles under a comprehensive agreement signed with Korean defense firms and Peru's state-run enterprise. While final contract negotiations are still underway, officials say the deal is expected to become the largest Korean defense export to Latin America and the first entry of the K2 tank into the region. The K2 has already strengthened its international standing through multi-billion-dollar supply contracts with Poland and performance demonstrations across Europe. National security officials say the Peru deal represents a pivotal step towards expanding Seoul's global defense footprint.
K-Defense is laying the foundation to become one of the world's top 4 global defense powers. We are launching a presidential-level control tower to drive these efforts forward.
President Lee Jae-myung welcomed the development, expressing hope that the agreement will elevate bilateral defense cooperation and lead to a sustainable, mutually beneficial partnership. If the export proceeds smoothly, Seoul expects the deal to serve as a foothold for expanding Korean defense exports across the wider Latin American market. Pyeongyang, Arirang News.
South Korea added 225,000 jobs in November compared to the same month last year. According to the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Wednesday, the total number of employed people stood at around 29.04 million last month. The increase was driven by the health and social welfare services sector, which added 281,000 jobs on year. However, key industries continue to show weakness, with employment in the manufacturing sector falling by 41,000 and the construction down by 131,000, marking 17 and 19 consecutive months of job losses respectively. While the overall employment rate has risen by 0.2 percentage points on year, employment for those aged 15 to 29 dipped by 1.2 percentage points in the same period, losing 177,000 jobs. Meanwhile, the elderly population is growing, and with the number of those under 30 that choose to stay unmarried or marry late, the number of single-person households continues to rise in South Korea, with more than 8 million people living alone last year. Our Yunjin reports.
Government data based on an annual survey released on Tuesday showed that in 2024, there were 8.05 million single-person households in South Korea. People living by themselves made up around 36% of all households, making them the largest household category. Statistics Korea defines single-person households as one person who lives alone, earns their own income, cooks for themselves, and sleeps alone, a complete independent unit. Almost 20% of these single-person households were aged 70 or older, while 17.8% were aged 29 and under, making it the second consecutive year where the number of older single households exceeded the younger group. The increase in elderly single-person households has also led to increased demand for welfare services. With more than 60% of single-person households employed, the average annual income of people who live alone came to 34.23 million won. That's roughly $23,288. While this was a 6.2% jump from the previous year, it still stood at just 46.1% of the overall average income of all households. Single-person households have become the most common form of households in Korea recently, increasing in proportion by approximately 1 percentage point each year since it first exceeded 30% in 2019. Figures for 2024 showed an increase of 0.6% in the proportion of single-person households compared to the previous year, with the proportion of two-person households also rising by 0.2 percentage points. In contrast, the proportion of three-person and four or more person households decreased by 0.2 percentage points and 0.8 percentage points, respectively. By region, 42.7% of single-person households were concentrated in Seoul and Gyeonggi-do Province. A source from the Ministry of Data and Statistics said that single-person households continue to increase due to the population aging, the increase in unmarried people, as well as later marriages. The survey also showed that nearly half of all people living alone said they often or sometimes feel lonely. 이은진, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., President Donald Trump has given himself a high grade for the country's economy under his second administration. The remarks come as the U.S. leader is preparing a trip to Pennsylvania to highlight his efforts to bring down inflation and the head of the central bank's decision on interest rates. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump has given the U.S. economy under his second administration what he calls an A+++++ grade as he prepares for a trip to Pennsylvania to highlight his efforts to bring down inflation. The comments came during an interview with Politico on Monday, where Trump defended his record on prices and pushed back against concerns from some supporters who believe the cost of goods remains too high. Trump argued that he inherited what he described as a total mess, claiming prices were already at historic highs when he took office. He insisted that costs are now easing, pointing specifically to energy prices. The remarks come as the president heads to Scranton, Pennsylvania on Tuesday for an event focused on affordability, an issue central to his 2024 campaign. Trump won the election on promises to bring relief to households struggling with rising expenses. Yet his administration has faced ongoing frustration from Americans who say that many prices remain elevated. Trump has blamed the Biden administration for the high costs and has dismissed Democratic arguments on affordability as a hoax and a con job. Trump has attempted to curb prices in part by removing tariffs on a range of products in recent months, a move officials say is aimed at lowering costs for consumers. The comments also come as the U.S. Fed is set to make its last rate decision of 2025. As Trump travels to Pennsylvania, the White House is expected to continue framing inflation and affordability as top priorities, even as public opinion shows divided views on the pace of improvement. 이승재, Arirang News.
South Korea has officially been chosen to host the 2028 UN Ocean Conference, one of the world's largest and most influential high-level gatherings on marine sustainability. The UN General Assembly overwhelmingly approved this resolution, marking a diplomatic win for Seoul. Chile has been selected as co-host and will organize a high-level preparatory meeting in 2027 ahead of the main event in South Korea. The 2028 gathering will explore a wide range of marine issues, from ecosystem restoration to strengthening the international law of the sea. Now, on the cultural front, South Korean director Park Chan-wook's latest film, No Other Choice, and Netflix animated hit K-pop Demon Hunters landed major nominations at the 2026 Golden Globe Awards. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
South Korea's best-known director Park Chan-wook's film No Other Choice and Netflix's animated film K-pop Demon Hunters have officially been nominated in 3 categories of the Golden Globe each. According to the Golden Globe's official website on Monday local time, director Park's dark thriller was nominated for Best Motion Picture in the categories of musical or comedy, where it will compete against 5 rivals: Blue Moon, Begonia, Marty Supreme, Nouvelle Vague, and One Battle After Another. It has also received a nomination for the non-English category, competing against 5, including the Brazilian film The Secret Agent and It Was Just an Accident. The lead actor of No Other Choice, Lee Byung-hun, received a nomination for Best Performance by a male actor in the musical or comedy categories as well. This marks the first time in 3 years that a Korean film has been nominated at the Golden Globes since Park's decision to leave, which was nominated for Best Non-English Language Film in 2023. Bong Joon-ho's Parasite in 2020 and Lee Isaac-chung's Minari in 2021 previously won in this category. Meanwhile, K-pop Demon Hunters was nominated for Best Animated Feature Film along with 5 other films, including Zootopia 2 and Arco, among others. It has also been nominated for Best Original Song with its lead track Golden and for the cinematic and box office achievement. First held in 1944, the Golden Globe Awards are a prestigious ceremony that evaluates achievements in film and television worldwide. A little less than 400 international voting members participate in the judging process. The 83rd Golden Globe Awards will take place on January 11th next year. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Special exhibitions featuring the artwork of Korean Catholic priest Kim In-jung, best known for his unique approach to stained glass, are taking place in Seoul until the end of this month. His works have long stood out for their distinct style, setting them apart from traditional stained glass art. Our culture correspondent Park Gon-woo takes us there for a closer look.
Vividly colored paint on glass that seems to tell a story or a poem. This is how Catholic priest and artist Kim In-jung has worked for decades, using oil pigments and brushes to create colors as radiant and transparent as light itself. His pieces look slightly different from traditional stained glass that's typically assembled by joining small pieces of colored glass together with lead. 2 special exhibitions, Poetry of Light and Light for Life, now running through this Christmas in 2 separate museums in Seoul, offer rare opportunities to appreciate Kim's work close up, including several being shown for the first time. A notable fact is that all the artwork on display is deliberately left untitled for a good reason. Behind me are Kim's latest artworks, which are also left intentionally untitled, allowing each viewer to step in with no preconceptions, just a pure personal encounter with the light and color before them.
I've been going through a dark period, feeling trapped. So I was finding a way to release some of that pressure, and this exhibition helped me out. It reminded me of a crane taking flight, so if I could name the piece, I'd call it Rise.
Although Kim is well known for his works on glass, his artistic practice extends to a variety of media, including canvas. And one remarkable characteristic of his work is the fusion of East and West.
European audiences say his art feels completely different from typical abstract or figurative works. The empty spaces reflect what influenced him since childhood, and he often uses thick calligraphy brushes along with vivid Western-style colors. These elements give his art a truly unique texture.
Kim's works throughout the years have been installed in around 50 cathedrals across Europe, including Chartres Cathedral. Now at 85 years old and living with hearing loss, he continues to work passionately, currently in France and Korea, showing no signs of slowing down. Though his pieces remain untitled, the emotions and reflections they evoke continue to illuminate those who stand before them, and perhaps that in the end is the very title he intended. 박건우, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In Europe, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has again ruled out giving up any territory to Russia, saying he has, quote, no legal or moral right to do so. His comments on Monday came as Ukraine prepares to send a revised peace plan to the White House after weekend talks between U.S. and Ukrainian negotiators produced no agreement. Zelensky met UK, French, and German leaders in London in what was widely viewed as a show of support amid concerns that Washington may back a deal requiring major concessions. He said Kiev's updated proposal could be submitted as early as Tuesday. Meanwhile, Russia claims new gains along the Eastern Front, which Ukraine disputes. In The Hague on Tuesday, the International Criminal Court sentenced a Sudanese militia leader to 20 years in prison for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in Sudan's Darfur region more than 20 years ago. Ali Muhammad Ali Abd al-Laman, also known as Ali Kushay, was convicted in October on 27 counts, including murder, torture, and orchestrating rape, with judges saying he personally beat detainees to death with an axe. Prosecutors had sought a life sentence, while the defense argued the 76-year-old was misidentified. The ruling concludes the ICC's first trial on the Darfur conflict, which began after militias known as the Janjaweed were mobilized to crush a 2003 rebellion. In Indonesia, a fire in an office building in Jakarta on Tuesday afternoon killed at least 22 people. Authorities say the blaze began on the first floor of the 7th-floor building after a battery exploded inside a drone company's workspace, sending flames and thick smoke upward. Most victims were women, including one pregnant woman, and police believe they died from smoke inhalation. Firefighters used aerial ladders to rescue trapped workers. In Australia, a social media ban for under-16s has come into effect. The ban blocks under-16s from accessing 10 major platforms, including Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. It took effect at midnight local time on Wednesday. Companies now face fines of $33 million if they fail to remove under-16 accounts. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the law is needed to protect children from predatory algorithms, but tech firms warn it may push teens to unregulated spaces. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
It felt chillier this morning, but actually temperatures were a couple of degrees higher than yesterday. Temperatures will sit above the seasonal average with mild westerly winds. Then daytime temperatures will jump nicely, climbing above 10 degrees Celsius in many regions with decent air quality. Seoul will see more clouds rolling in this afternoon with a high of 10 degrees Celsius. Daejeon, Daegu, Gyeongju will be getting up to 12 degrees. Then tomorrow, rain and snow are in the forecast nationwide. Most regions will see 5 to 10 millimeters of rainfall, but snow is expected for the mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province with up to 10 centimeters expected. It is a welcome bit of moisture for the East Coast, where long-lasting dry alerts continue. Then tomorrow's wet weather will bring freezing air to the country on Friday morning, with more wintry precipitation in the forecast across Korea through the weekend.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.
Korea, a globally recognized sports powerhouse. Behind